2000 hours local time for a look at our Panorama comprehensive events. Good evening, I'm Nermin Nazim. First we have a look at the main headlines. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi arrives in the French city of Biarritz to participate in the G7 summit. Macron meets Trump and Merkel on the sidelines of the G7 summit. Britain sends another warship to the Gulf. Welcome back. Those were the main headlines and more details. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi arrived in the French city of Biarritz on Saturday. President al-Sisi participates in the summit of the G7 2019, which is headed by France and is to last for 3 days. The visit of President al-Sisi comes upon an invitation from French President Emmanuel Macron. President al-Sisi is to present the African causes before the G7 summit. A working session regarding the partnership between the G7 and Africa is to be held. 24 delegations, including U.S. President Donald Trump, German Chancellor Angela Merkel, and the Prime Ministers of Japan, Canada and Britain are to participate. Meanwhile, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson makes his debut on the global stage at the G7 summit. Security development, combating illegal immigration, inequality, and facing the usage of the internet in the terrorist operations are among the most important files. Human trafficking and boosting democracy are among the basic causes of the summit. Summit host President Emmanuel Macron has invited leaders from Asia, Africa and Latin America to join them. France has already decided that there will be no final communique. France deployed more than 13,000 police officers backed by soldiers to keep protesters away from the summit venue. Meanwhile, French President Emmanuel Macron and his American counterpart Donald Trump had a private lunch before the start of the Group of Seven summit in Biarritz on Saturday. Macron said that the leaders were discussing a lot of crises around the world, including Libya, Iran and Russia, as well as trade policy and climate change. Trump said the two leaders actually have a lot in common regarding a number of files. In the same context, the French president met German Chancellor Angela Merkel before the official start of the summit. On Friday, Macron threatened to block an EU trade deal with several South American states, including Brazil, over the government's handling of the fires burning in the Amazon. Merkel disagreed with her office, saying Saturday that blocking the Mercosur deal would not reduce the destruction of rainforests in Brazil, although she backed Macron's proposal to discuss the fires at the gathering. Back home, Egypt welcomed a pact inked by Rwandan President Paul Kagame and his Ugandan counterpart Yoweri Museveni in Angola, aimed at ending 8 months of tensions. In a statement, the Foreign Ministry hailed the positive move, which reflects the two countries' efforts to overcome any disputes through dialogue and cooperation. Egypt, which shares the African Union, said the only way to deal with the country's challenges is to activate the African Solutions to African Problems principle, calling for enhancing the African joint action and achieving the African people's aspirations. Egypt national carrier continues the air bridge to bring back Egyptian pilgrims after performing Hajj. The carrier said that it is operating 22 flights from the airports of Jeddah and Medina to transport 4,800 pilgrims. The carrier has transferred 40,000 pilgrims until now, and its flights are continuing until September 5th. A car bomb exploded in the rebel-held Syrian city of Idlib on Saturday as airstrikes hit its outskirts in a government offensive on the last major opposition bastion. Here are more details.
Syrian regime forces massed Saturday in northwest Syria in an apparent bid to press an offensive against terrorists and allied rebels that has heightened tensions with neighboring Turkey. After 8 years of civil war, the terrorist-run region of Idlib on the Turkish border is one of the last to escape the Damascus government's control. Backed by Russia, Syrian President Bashar al-Assad's forces have chipped away at the south of the stronghold in recent weeks after months of deadly bombardment. On Wednesday, they seized the key town of Khan Sheikhoun from militias and allied rebels, and on Friday overran the countryside to the south of the town, encircling a Turkish observation post there. On Saturday, loyalist fighters gathered north of Khan Sheikhoun, preparing to continue their advance towards the area of Ma'arat al-Nu'man, a town some 25 kilometers to the north. That area has come under intense bombardment and been depleted of almost all of its residents in the past 2 weeks. Full government control of that road would allow it to connect the capital Damascus with the second city of Aleppo, retaken from opposition leaders and militias in late 2016.
Guards Major General Hossein Salami said on Saturday that Iran has test-fired a new missile but provided no additional information. U.S. President Donald Trump pulled out of an international agreement on Iran's nuclear program last year and stepped up sanctions on Tehran in order to curb its development of ballistic missiles and its support for proxies in Syria, Yemen, Lebanon and Iraq. The two countries have been exchanging threats and warnings since then. Iran shot down a U.S. military surveillance drone in the Gulf with a surface-to-air missile in June, nearly setting off a conflict with the United States. Tehran says the drone was over its territory, but Washington says it was in international airspace. And an Iranian tanker at the center of a confrontation between Washington and Tehran has switched destination and is now heading to Turkey instead of southern Greece. According to the data from real-time ship tracking website Marine Traffic, the Adrian Daria, formerly called Grace 1, was released from detention of Gibraltar after a 5-week standoff over whether it was carrying Iranian oil to Syria in violation of European Union sanctions in mid-August. Previous data had shown that the vessel, which is fully laden with oil, was heading to the port of Kalamata in southern Greece. But new data on Saturday showed the vessel will now sail past Greece through the Mediterranean and dock at the southern Turkish port city of Mersin on August 31st. Greece had said it would not offer any facilities to the tanker. The UK Royal Navy announced Saturday a third British warship is heading to the Gulf amid heightened tensions in the region. UK Defence Secretary Ben Wallace said Britain has already sent the HMS Kent to cover for frigate HMS Montrose while it undergoes maintenance in nearby Bahrain and is now redirecting the Type 45 destroyer HMS Defender from its mission to the Pacific. Britain outraged Iran by seizing one of its tankers, the Grace 1, on July 4th on suspicion it was carrying oil to Syria in violation of EU sanctions. The HMS Montrose then warned off 3 Iranian gunboats that UK officials said were trying to impede the progress of a British supertanker through the Strait of Hormuz in the Gulf on July 11th. Iranian Revolutionary Guards stormed and detained the UK-flagged Stena Impero and its 23 crew as they sailed through the Strait of Hormuz on July 20th. The British government subsequently raised the alert level for ships traveling through Iranian waters to 3 on a 3-point scale, indicating a critical threat. Clashes broke out in parts of Srinagar in Indian-administered Kashmir, where angry protesters threw stones at